When I woke this morning, I was angry because my people continue to place value on things that have no value. We continue to focus on things that have no end except destruction. This is your warning shot. Wake up. Wake up. Everybody, look around you and tell me what you see in the ghetto. Little children are suffering without enough to eat, and the ghetto mother's doing what she can do by herself, because the unfair sentencing laws have black men locked under jail. So the followers have no leaders, and that's where I come in, cause nobody else is willing to risk it all. It's a lonely boat I'm in, but that's okay, cause I won't sell my soul for no amount of bread. And like the leaders before me, the Illuminati wants me dead. This is the warning shot for everybody within earshot of my voice. You'd better get yourself together. This is the warning shot for everybody within earshot of my voice. You'd better get yourself together. Single mamas, I see you struggling with them kids you got. Your life took one hell of a shot when baby daddy got shot or got popped for trafficking blocks on city blocks. Stepped after he caught doing a racial profile stop by crooked cops. Brothers dodge them feds while sisters hop in beds. Difficult decisions we make to keep our families fed. They say my generation's all about self, but when you starving it's hard to consider anyone else. So I pray to Jehovah that things will get better for us, that we'll become paper investors instead of cheddar blowers. Struggling, envisioning ourselves bubbling. Money's good, the things we do for the troubling. I've worked so hard, mental and emotional scars of life and poverty continue to bother me. Y'all follow me, let's make the situation improve, using money as a tool instead of doing what the Joneses do. Warning shot for everybody within earshot of my voice. You'd better get yourself together. This is the warning shot for everybody within earshot of my voice. You'd better get yourself together. Say yes, I believe that God gon' deliver me. He won't abandon me, living miserably. If you or somebody that you know living poor and you don't know when your change gon' come, sing the song. Say yes, I believe that God gon' deliver me. He won't abandon me, living miserably. Try to repeat it whenever you feel defeated. This is my way of letting them know he's really needed. For years, the outlook on Southern life has been grim. Opportunities to succeed for the black man are slim. The American dream is no means to speed money, so me and my brothers opt for fast street money, gunning each other down, about to run out of room underground. To all the black mothers wear a permanent frown. Let's get smart and recognize we should be in charge, cause we descend from the chosen people of God. This is the warning shot for everybody within earshot of my voice. You'd better get yourself together. This is the warning shot for everybody within earshot of my voice. You'd better get yourself together. That was your warning.
Yeah. Warning shot. The Angelus the Don, aka Dr. BoA. Salute to the Alphasphere. It's time to wake up, man. It's time to wake up, man. We sleep, homies. It's time to wake up. No more attacking our own. We should be defending our own. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Welcome back to another episode of the High Altitude Show. I'm your host with the most, Dr. BoA, aka Book of Alpha, running me here in the Alphasphere with the intent on educating the masses. Now, there's a topic, man, that's been making the rounds, so to speak. And I want to chime in on that topic today, man. Now, let me start off by saying this. I know that the beta male orbiters of the manosphere always want to try to create an issue between specific content creators. So let me preface this by saying this is not an attempt to attack any particular content creator or their content. This is simply me chiming in as I was requested to do by a couple of my supporters on this particular topic. And my intention is to educate. So what we're going to do is a two-part thing here today, man. We're going to have a history lesson. And I'm going to tell you guys about some of the amazing things that have taken place that we've accomplished in this particular society as a motivational tactic. Because we've accomplished some amazing things in this particular society. And I'm talking about back as early as the 50s and 60s. But due to the fact that, you know, one of the greatest moments in our history, one of the most tragic moments in our history was the murder of Dr. Martin Luther King, I was going to start in that particular year. But I said I'm going to start in 67 because that's when Thurgood Marshall became the first black Supreme Court justice. So I said I'll just go back a year and we'll start there, man. Salute to everybody in the building, man. Salute to my brothers, SJ3 and GMB, for being in the joint, man. I appreciate that, man. You guys should tune in to China White's channel on Saturday, I think 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, maybe 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And she's going to have quite a nice panel with GMB, SJ3, Afi, Red Pill Chauvinist, Ice Turner. That's going to be a nice panel of guys over there, man. And me, myself, I'm just going to sit back and observe as a, as a viewer, man. You know what I'm saying? That's one of those things that I just want to sit back and enjoy. And I would advise you to do the same, man. It's going to be lit with those brothers on the panel. So I think we should all make our way over there to not only support these men, but to support China White as well. So I say this to you, men. There's been a lot of things said about Generation X by the millennials. There's also been a lot of things said about the millennials by Generation X. And both Generation X and the millennials say a whole bunch of things about Generation Z, which is these new cats. But I'm going to tell you a secret. There's a small group, a small generation that I like to refer to as the lost generation. They haven't done anything. They haven't accomplished anything outside of their own personal endeavors. And they are the only group that has not done anything positive for the people. Everything they've done positive is an individualistic endeavor, is an individual accomplishment. You know what I'm saying? It's individual goal achievement. And that group seems to be the group that does all of the complaining. They complain about Generation X. They complain about the millennials. They complain about Generation Z. Well, wait a minute now. If you're complaining about the X, if you're complaining about the millennials, if you're complaining about the Z, that means you're obviously not a part of either one of those groups. So you are a lost group of men and women who don't belong to any particular generation. You're just passersby. You're just in the world, making your own way, doing your own thing without affecting the people. So basically, if you fit into that group, then you really don't have a leg to stand on when it comes to any of your complaints, because you've done absolutely nothing to affect the society. You understand? The boomers, listen, I'm going to be honest with y'all right now. The boomers were the last generation to do anything in this society to move the people forward. You see, the boomers come along to when Martin Luther King, when Dr. King was out here, man, the civil rights movement, when Rosa Parks sat on the bus, the march on Selma to Washington, when, not Minister Farrakhan, but when Malcolm X, when Brother Malcolm, split from the nation and, he took his journey to Mecca. All of these things happened during the baby boomers' time. The civil rights movement, Dr. King's murder, Malcolm's murder in 65, Dr. King's murder 3 years later in 68. These are the type of things that happen. The Panthers, the Bobby Seals of the world, the Black Power movement. All of these things happen in the lifetime of the boomers. You understand what I'm saying? So when you skip past the boomers, after the boomers, no generation has done much, not enough, to move the people forward, to be able to run their mouths and talk bad about any other particular group. None of them. We just haven't done much. You know, we can look at a lot of things, and we're going to look at those things. But right now, man, let me jump in and give you, men, this particular history lesson. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the events that we've accomplished, but I'm going to tell you some major things that you probably didn't know. So I'm going to give you guys a minute to grab a pen and paper if you want to, because I'm going to run down a pretty extensive list of things that happened. And, you know, it's well, you know what, man, just, you can just search it yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to sit and wait, man, while you take notes on this thing. Unless you're a really fast note taker, man, then, or you can just go back and listen to it. How about that? Because I'm going to leave this one up. Now, let's start in 1967. These are some great accomplishments that black folks have accomplished, and not only black men, but black men and black women. Black women have done some amazing things in this particular country, even at a time when it was very impossible to do these things. Well, not impossible, but when it was much more difficult to do these things than it is now. In 1967, Solicitor General Thurgood Marshall takes his seat as the first African American justice on the United States Supreme Court. That was on July 13, 1967. On November 13, 1967, Carl Stokes and Richard G. Hatcher are elected the first black mayors of Cleveland and Gary, Indiana. In 1967 now, Albert William Johnson is the first African American awarded a dealership from a major automaker when he opens an Oldsmobile dealership in a predominantly black neighborhood in Chicago. We ain't talking about a buy here, pay here. We're talking about a major manufacturer dealership. Now let's talk about this. Dr. King was assassinated in Memphis on April 4th. April 4th, 1968. A day before Congress enacted the Civil Rights Act of 1968, which outlawed the discrimination in the sale and rental of housing. And I know Generation Xers always talk about, well, all they did was march and all they did was rally and all that. But I'm going to be honest with you. The fact that we on this platform right now, man, is because they marched and rallied. You understand? All these laws that were put into place are the reason that you can walk on either side of the street that you want to. So let's not downplay what the Civil Rights Movement did for us. Of course, it can't do everything, just like violence can't do everything. Violence is going to cause a war. Violence ain't going to really get much done except, you know, creating a respect and a fear that might just lead to more fighting and much more bloodshed. We don't know what a violent approach would have done during that time, but we see the results of this approach. And I know some beta male semi Johnny going to say, well, Dr. BoA, didn't you say that, you know, integration was a terrible thing? You know, are you going to discredit, you discredited Martin Luther King with that? No. What I said is integration was a terrible thing. I didn't say any of these other things was a terrible thing. You understand what I'm saying? It's not a terrible thing that you and I can live wherever the hell we want to live. It's not a terrible thing that when that new restaurant opens in your city, you can just go to it. It's not a terrible thing that when a new mall opens in your city, you don't have to worry about what side of the tracks it's on. We just take it for granted because none of us have ever had to worry about that in our lives, for the most part. Now, I didn't go back to 65 when Malcolm was killed, man. I just didn't go back to that. To me, the discussion about the Nation of Islam is a live stream in its own, you know, in its own. It stands alone. Now, let me tell you something amazing. When President Kennedy was in office, he was a Republican. Stood right beside Dr. King and the Civil Rights Movement. That's why they assassinated him in 68 as well on June 5th in Los Angeles. See what I'm saying? And his Republican running mate, Lyndon B. Johnson, was not supportive of the Civil Rights Movement. But under pressure of, you know, the violence that erupted once Martin Luther King was killed, he had to go ahead and sign the bill into law. He had to sign the bill into law. He had no choice. It was going to be all kind of uproar in this country, man, which is something else that we don't do today. You see, we're going to go down this list and we're going to figure out a time where every time something went wrong the black folks didn't like, they tore some shit up. Now, we don't do nothing. I ain't even hear nobody talk about the fact that, man, now we accept and expect to be treated poorly in this society, and we don't even fight about it. Now, let's keep it moving here. In 1968, Shirley Chisholm of New York is the first black woman selected to Congress. Now, I didn't want to put that in there because she was real big on that, all men are men and I get more discrimination for being a woman than I do black. She was one of the first speakers on that, man, and I think that's why they slid her on in there, man, because she bit the bullet and went on and jumped on that feminist thing. But we ain't gonna talk about that here. Let's keep it moving here, man. On May 5th, Moneta Sleet Jr. of Ebony Magazine becomes the first African American to win a Pulitzer Prize in photography. I know many of you didn't know that. On September 22nd, the African American Studies program begins offering courses at Harvard University. That's 1969. Howard N. Lee in 1969 becomes the first African American mayor of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. At the time, he is the first African American mayor of a predominantly white southern city. A predominantly white southern city has a black mayor in 1969. On December 4th, Chicago police killed Black Panther leaders Fred Hampton and Mark Clark. You see, they went down the list, taking them boys out, man. They had declared enough. So when I hear someone talk about all the things that happened, well, Generation X did this and Generation X sold dope and all that. Boy, do you see how they were destroying the black community right here? Now, think about this. You make a black man, and I know it's not even a positive thing that Howard N. Lee become the first African-American mayor of a predominantly white southern city. Because you know what happens in a predominantly white southern city. The city council is white. Everybody else is white. He's a black mayor. They knew better than to make him a black mayor of a black city. That's not what they were planning on doing. Not at that particular time. It was years later. Years later, when Richard Arrington Jr. became the mayor of Birmingham, Alabama, that's when black men in political positions actually began to be able to affect the society. But that was nothing. Making him an African American mayor of a predominantly white southern city, that just fed into the whole integration thing. See, that's the problem that integration did. It made people think that it was a positive thing to put a black man in a political position in an all-white society where he can't control. Same thing that happened with Obama. It was pacification. They put Obama in that particular situation because they put him it put him as a figurehead over a country that's run by a white system. So we were all pacified by that. We thought it was a great thing. Finally, in America, there's a black man in the White House. Yeah. What did it do for me and you? Mess around, don't have health insurance, man. By the time the window expires. Anyway, let's keep it moving, man. In 1970, Dr. Clifton Wharton Jr. is named president of Michigan State University on January 2nd. He is the first African American to lead a major predominantly white university into the 20th century. We're in the 20th century. This I guess I'll say that. On February 18, 1970, Bobby Seale and six other defendants, popularly known as Chicago 7, are acquitted of the charge of conspiring to disrupt the 1968 Democratic National Convention, which that was cool, man. I guess it was something worth putting in here. Let's keep on. The first issue of Essence magazine appears in May 1970. Now, see, we talk about police brutality. Listen to this. 1970. On May 15, two students, Philip Lafayette Gibbs and James Earl Green, are killed by police in a confrontation with students at Jackson State University in Jackson, Mississippi. On July 1st, Kenneth Gibson becomes the first black mayor of an eastern city when he assumes the post in Newark, New Jersey. This is 1970. You know what I'm saying? Before any of us were born. We're talking about 1970, man. The first issue of Black Enterprise magazine appeared in 1970 in August. I bet some of y'all still ain't subscribed to that magazine. A peep game on this. In 1970, the San Rafael, California courthouse shooting on August 7th results in the death of Judge Harold Haley and three others, including Jonathan Jackson, the younger brother of imprisoned Black Panther George Jackson. UCLA philosophy professor Angela Davis is implicated in the shooting and becomes the subject of a nationwide FBI-led search. This woman was a professor at UCLA. Think about that. Davis is captured and brought to trial. She is acquitted of all charges on June 4th, 1972. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's get into some serious things here. I ain't gonna talk about the whole, all the military things and all that, man. In 1971, Johnson Products, a hair care company, becomes the first black-owned company to be listed on a major U.S. stock exchange, on the Amex. Think about these, man. In 1971, Leroy Satchel Paige became the first former Negro Leagues baseball player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame at Cooperstown. See, these are things that would work. Listen, see, I'm saying all these things for a reason. We're gonna get to a point here. Leroy Satchel Paige became the first former Negro Leagues baseball player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame at Cooperstown, New York. In 1971, there was a black player inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame, not the Negro League Hall of Fame, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. How many years later is it right now? It's almost 50 years later, and there still ain't a black owner of a baseball team. Think about that. Think about that. You see what I'm saying? Everything that was accomplished back then. None of us have made any strides. We all dropped the ball, niggas. You ain't did nothing. I ain't did nothing. The newer generation ain't did nothing. Z ain't. Nobody ain't did nothing. I'm trying to see where all this pointing the finger coming from. Because all of us have dropped the ball since then. These people were accomplishing these things in the 60s and 70s, man. And 50 years later, man, we still ain't got nothing to show for it except for more people in the Hall of Fame. What happened to the ownership? How many black-owned companies right now are listed on a major U.S. stock exchange? Johnson Products started it in 71. On March 10th through 12th in 1972, several thousand African Americans gathered in Gary, Indiana for the first national black political convention. You see, the first national black political convention. They weren't all piling up at the Republican National Convention. They weren't all piling up at the Democratic National Convention. They were piling up for the first national black political convention. Whatever happened to that? What have we done since then? Nothing. Rock the vote. Ain't none of us done nothing. Over the summer, New York Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm in 1972 makes an unsuccessful bid for the Democratic presidential nomination. She is the first African American to campaign for the nomination. See? In November, Barbara Jordan of Houston and Andrew Young of Atlanta, who went on to become the mayor of Atlanta, become the first black congressional representatives elected from the U.S. South since 1898. Now look at that. Since 1898. What's that tell you? Black folks were being elected to Congress in the 1800s. We're gonna talk about some things here, man. In 1972, the first Haitian boat people arrived in South Florida. In 1973, the National Black Feminist Organization is established by Eleanor Holmes Norton. The National Black Feminist Organization. So when we talk about what's going on now, these things were established in 1973. So you got to understand, if we're going to point the finger at Generation X, these boys were being born around that time, man. They were being born around that time. They were handed this. They were handed this scenario. They were handed a rundown inner city that didn't have any leadership because all the leaders were killed. So if you're killing all the leaders of the black community in the 60s and 70s, you're killing them off, you're running them away. I'm talking about killing all the leadership. So you're leaving these young men who are part of that struggle without effective leadership. Struggles die when you kill the leadership. Any struggle, any organization without effective leadership dies. You show me I'm talking about even down to sports. Show me a basketball team with terrible management, with a terrible owner and terrible coaches, and tell me how many times they contend for a championship. So when Generation X came up and became adults, all they had was ghetto. All they had was inner city. They didn't have nothing else. So it was easy by design to drop crack cocaine in there. See, the problem is, y'all act like y'all don't know that all of these things happen by design. Y'all act like y'all ain't hip to the fact that this is a systemic oppression and a systematic depression that has taken place over the centuries. All of this is by design. The advent of crack cocaine into the inner city was by design. Why didn't they just put powder in there? Think about that. Powder cocaine was everywhere. Why didn't they just put powder in there? Wasn't no opportunities then. Or at least black people in a certain environment were cut off from the opportunities. And still I say, no one since these people that I'm running down this list of right now, these baby boomers, no one has done anything for black folks since then. And I ain't making this up. No one has done anything for black folks since then. Not on no major level. Not on a major level. And that's the reality of it. Let's go through a few more things, man. (1974), Henry Hank Aaron of the Atlanta Braves hits his 715 home runs, surpassing Babe Ruth to become the all-time leader in home runs in Major League Baseball. Yeah, he's still the home run leader, man. We can't give it to no boy that's on the juice. He can't be the one. So let's skip forward, man, to a couple of other things here, man. See, a lot of things are said, man, where, we just really don't know the history of who we are. College and university enrollment for African American students rises sharply from 282,000 in 1966 to 1,062,000 in 1976. Still, that was the time of the boomer. The boomers did this. The boomers made these changes. The boomers turned these things on. The boomers turned this society into somewhere that black folks could be successful. The boomers did this. Generation X, the millennials, Generation Z ain't did nothing. We living off the laurels. We living off the achievements of those who come before us. That's what we're doing. And that's the reality of it, man. In 1972, the Andrew Young, the cat from ATL I just got through talking about, is appointed by President Jimmy Carter to be U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations. He is the first African American to hold that post. So for us to be talking about, man, we don't have no political power, we lost it. We were on the way with it. We were on the way with it. They saw it. They gave a little. See, let me tell you something about black folks. We're a resilient bunch. You give us a little, we're going to turn it into a lot. You understand? The slave throwaway food, hey, let's throw these guts out here to them. Let them have that. We're going to turn a little into some. And then when we turn it into some, we're going to turn it into a lot. So they gave a little bit and lost a whole lot. And it came so fast they couldn't stop it. Because once you put us in a position, we're going to outwork everybody. Once you give us an opportunity, if you want to be successful, you ain't going to have no choice but to roll with us. We're going to prove ourselves with our work ethic, with our grind, with our determination, with our focus, with our willingness to overcome obstacles, with our ability to stay calm in the face of oppression, because we've been doing it our whole lives. We were raised on that. It's in our blood. So you got to give us more. And that's it, man. That's the reality of it, man. 1978. Max Robinson became the first black network anchor when he begins broadcast for ABC TV News from Chicago. Now, there are some areas that we made some strides. And Bob Johnson creating BET is one of those things, man. Jill Brown becomes the first black female pilot for a commercial passenger airline in 1978, Texas International Airlines. See, these are things that we can look and say, well, we don't have no opportunities. Well, everything's bad. Now, everything ain't bad. Everything went bad. But this is the foundation of everything. Like I just spoke of, in 1979, Richard Arrington Jr. is elected the first African-American mayor of Birmingham, one of the most racist cities in the world up to that point. The Nobel Peace Prize in economics goes to Sir Arthur Lewis of Princeton University in 1979. He is the first black person to win the award in a category other than peace. He won it in money. He won it in economics, man. What are we doing? What have we done since then? How many black banks are there since then? Here's a man who wins the prize, who wins the Nobel Prize. And come on, man. Let's not. We ain't gonna talk about that no more, man. We ain't gonna talk about it no more. The census of 1980 says the U.S. population was 226,504,825. Black population 26,482,349. That's 11.8%. We still believe we 12% of the population. If we were 12% of the population in the 80s, now we're 12% of the population in the 90s. And now everybody always talk about how many babies out of wedlock we made, how many babies out of wedlock were made during the Generation X. How we still 12% of the population in? And let me tell you something about that whole baby out of wedlock thing. You can say that Generation X made a whole lot of babies out of wedlock and they just left them there. Well, let me tell you something. There's a whole lot of babies being made out of wedlock right now and always has been. But you know what? There's 1,700 black abortions every damn day. So they're using abortion as a form of damn birth control. If it wasn't for abortion, there'd be more children now than there was in Generation X. Because the one thing about Generation X, we ain't murder no babies. Understand this, man. Everything that we talk about right now, is based on lack of knowledge. It's based on lack of understanding. And sometimes just based on lack of ignoring what we know. I'm not speaking on these things for the first time. People know these things already. We know this, man. In 1980, Bob Johnson begins operation of Black Entertainment Television out of Washington, D.C. So we could do all this talking about what BET has become. Niggas don't do nothing but sit around and complain. We complain about the programming on BET. Okay, this man started BET in 1980. Where's your network at? Where the other black networks at? Find them for me. Where are they? And since 1980, we talking about 40 years. 40 years now. And ain't nobody started another one, but we sit around and complain about what that network has turned into and the man don't even own it no more. We ain't gonna do nothing but talk, man. That's all we gonna do. We ain't gonna do nothing but talk. I know we ain't gonna do nothing but talk. You know we ain't gonna do nothing but talk. Everybody knows it. Michael Jackson's album Thriller in 1982 is released. It will eventually sell 45 million copies worldwide, becoming the best-selling album in music history. Now let's put this in perspective. Michael Jackson bought the Beatles catalog for $250 million from Sony Records, man. He bought the catalog for $250 million. Let's put this in perspective. This boy album sold 45 million. I'm talking about 45 million albums. I'm talking about 45 million hard copy album. Wasn't no streaming. The 45 million was 45 million hard copies bought. How come Jay-Z just becoming a billionaire this year? With all these billionaire music companies, how come Jay-Z just becoming a billionaire this year? Somebody explain that to me. See, the problem with black men, especially black men, because black women will support you. If they like you, they support you. They support what they believe in. Black men too jealous to support what they believe in. And I'm going to be honest with you. I appreciate the views and all that. Everybody appreciate the views. But I'm talking about support. I'm talking about helping perpetuate something to the next level. I see black men in the comments right now, man. Well, not in this comments, but, all the time. Talk, well, I don't send no super chat. Now, I don't send no money through PayPal. I'm not joining nobody's Patreon. Now, I'll come over here and listen for free. At least I'm coming to listen. That's the mindset that black men have. So it's easy for black men to attack one another. Easy. Vanessa Williams became the first African-American crowned Miss America on September 18th in Atlantic City, 1983. Of course, in July 1984, she relinquished her crown to Suzette Charles when nude photos of her appeared in Penthouse magazine. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. That's a travesty right there, man. That's the same thing they did to Jesse Jackson, man, when he ran and tried to get the nomination, man. You understand? They dig up dirt on people, man. Some things they weren't ready for a black woman to be declared the most beautiful woman in America now. They wasn't gonna let that be on the records at that particular time. So they took that thing from her and gave it to a white girl, man. They wasn't gonna let that happen. Now let's look at how Vanessa Williams used to look when she won that. And let's look at what our ideal beauty is right now. A 55-inch butt. Man, let me tell you something. Something is wrong with you psychologically if a 55-inch butt is what you're drawn to. If you look at a 55-inch butt and say, oh man, that's a wonderful butt. I like that butt. If you need a 55-inch butt to turn you on, man, something's terribly wrong with you, brother. You got some things going on in your mind, man, that are not quite right. And that's the reality of it, man. Let me go through here, man, and shout out these super chats right quick, man, before we get back in, before they get ahead of me here, man. I probably lost some of them already. I think I have. Hey, man, if I lost your super chat, oh, wait, man, I can go over here in this window over here, I believe. Yeah, let me go over here, man. I think I can go over here. Art Banks 09, man, I appreciate the $2 super chat, my country cousin. Ify Kingdom, what up, bro? My brethren in the house. Salute, appreciate the super chat, homie says salute, showing support to the real mob brethren. The mob. Motu, I like that new presentation right there, King. No doubt, bro. I appreciate that. Pierre Jackson, I appreciate the $20 super chat. Pierre said, born in Seattle in 1986, have lived here ever since. Black entrepreneurship was historically centered in the city's central district. Gentrification, along with drugs and the bloods and folks banging, have destroyed it. No doubt, brother. Esso Stoic, $2. Appreciate the $2 super chat, brother. Great. I don't know why I just shouted out $2. Great topic, brother. Sparking introspection. No doubt, brother. Hey, I appreciate the super chats, brothers. I appreciate all y'all being in here watching, man. Let's jump back into this thing, man, because I don't want to sit on here for too long, man, and take up too much of y'all time today, man. All right, so let's jump back into this thing, man. On April 12th, Harold Washington is elected the first black mayor of Chicago. April 12th, now 1983. Think about this. In 1983, on August 30th, Guy S. Bluford Jr., a crew member of the Challenger, becomes the first African-American astronaut to make a space flight. Now, I'm finna blow y'all mind with something right here. I'm finna blow y'all mind. Watch this, man. I'm telling you, I'm finna blow y'all mind right here, man. All right, let's go to 1983. Robert C. Maynard becomes the first African-American to own the major daily newspaper in a large city when he becomes the majority stockholder of the Oakland Tribune. On January 2nd, 1984, W. Wilson Goode becomes the first African-American mayor of Philadelphia. Now, in 1984, Reverend Jesse Jackson wins approximately 1/4 of the votes cast in the Democratic primaries and caucuses and about 1/8 of the convention delegates in a losing bid for the Democratic presidential nomination, my bad. Now, that's something I want to point out to y'all. In 1989, Frederick Drew Gregory becomes the first African-American to command a space shuttle when he leads the crew of the Discovery. In 1989, how many of y'all knew that the captain of the space shuttle Discovery was a black man, was a brother? How many of y'all knew that? I know somebody did, but I can almost guarantee that the majority of us didn't know that. Are we going to talk about Bill? In 1988, November 4th, Bill Cosby announced his gift of $20 million to Spelman College. This is the largest donation ever made by a black American to a college or university. The largest is Bill. And they got him jammed up in there, man. You know what I'm saying? They got him jammed up in there, treating him like a... Now we know about this one. In 1987, neurosurgeon Dr. Benjamin Carson makes medical history when he leads a 70-member surgical team at Johns Hopkins Hospital in a 22-hour operation separating Siamese twins, the Binder twins, joined at the cranium. Neurosurgeon Dr. Benjamin Carson makes history when he, for the first time, successfully separates Siamese twins who were joined at the damn skull, man. Come on, man. Come on, man. Let's be realistic out here, man. November 22nd, Mike Tyson defeats Trevor Berg for the World Boxing Council Heavyweight Championship in a title fight in Las Vegas. At the age of 20, Tyson is the youngest fighter to win the crown. Come on, man. What we gonna do here, man? In 1985, Grambling State University football coach Eddie Robinson became the coach with the most wins in college football history. Let's talk about how many. You know what, man? We're going to leave that alone. We ain't going to talk about no more sports, man, because the way sports win is a travesty, man. I'm just going to be honest with you. The way that goes is a travesty. We're going to roll on up, man. We get to the end of this so we can get into the meat of our conversation here, man. I just want to come through and run y'all down this list of things so we can talk about all the things that have been accomplished. Now we on up into the, we in the 80s. The Generation X was still young. You know what I'm saying? Still, in high school or about to get out of high school. Or your Generation X was still young at this time. All these things were still being accomplished by baby boomers. On August 10th, General Colin L. Powell was named chair of the United States Joint Chief of Staff, the first African American to hold the post. All right. On November 7th, 1989, L. Douglas Wilder wins the governorship of Virginia, making him the first African American to be popularly elected to that office. On the same day, David Dinkins and Norm Rice are the first African Americans elected as mayors of New York and Seattle, respectively. November 7, 1989, first black governor voted in Virginia. First black governor voted in Virginia, and first black mayor of New York and Seattle. Come on, man. 1989, there was a black governor in Virginia. What are we doing, man? In 1989, Art Shell, RIP to Art, becomes the first African American head coach in National Football League in the post-World War II era when he is hired to lead the Oakland Raiders. Come on, man. We gotta figure something out, man. And I man, listen, bro, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Black women will accomplish some things. Marcelite Jordan Harris is the first black woman brigadier general in the U.S. Army and the first woman to command a mostly male battalion. 1990. Now I know some beta male silk man Johnny gonna come in here with that. Well, she shouldn't be leading. Hey man, that ain't what this is about. I'm not gonna leave sisters out for the things they've accomplished, because they had just as hard a road as we did, even though they jumped on the other side. But that was simply to separate them from us. They wasn't giving them no extra leeway into these positions. I can guarantee you that. We know how hard they work when you put them in the right position, give them the right motivation. In November, when Sharon Pratt Kelly is elected mayor of Washington, D.C., she becomes the first African-American woman to lead a large American city. That's 1990. See, what you got to understand is after black men accomplish something, it's only natural that black women get the opportunity in this particular society. You understand? But I'm going to tell you, now part of that did go into the concept that if you put black women in positions of power, they'll never take their right position up under black men and supportive of black men. So they'll always be at odds with black men if you give them the same power and the same political positions that you give black men. And it worked. I will say that worked. On March 3rd, 1991, Los Angeles police used force to arrest Rodney King after San Fernando Valley traffic stop. The beating of King is captured on videotape and broadcast widely, prompting an investigation and subsequent trial of 3 officers. On April 10th, Emmanuel Cleaver II is sworn in as the first African American mayor of Kansas City. 1991, Wellington Webb becomes the first African American mayor of Denver, Colorado. Clarence Thomas, 1991, the second black Supreme Court justice. Julie Dash releases Daughters of the Dust, the first feature film by an African American woman in 1991. See what I'm saying? Man, we've been accomplishing major things. Now let's talk about this right here. On April 29th, a Simi Valley, California jury acquits the 3 officers accused of beating Rodney King. The verdict triggers a 3-day uprising in Los Angeles called the Rodney King Riot that resulted in over 50 people killed, over 2,000 injured, and 8,000 arrested. You see what I'm saying? Now, when that happens, black folk don't do nothing. Black men don't do nothing. And I'm going to tell you, later on, they put them boys back on trial again, and they found them guilty. Now, they didn't give them a whole lot of time, but they went back to trial on that. All right, man. We about to get ready to wrap this part of this thing up, man. Let's move on up to, the 2000s, man, and see what we got in here, man. Pretty much sports, chess, population, religion, military. You got Condoleezza Rice. See what I'm saying? By 2000, things had started tailoring down. Because I'm going to tell you, the crack epidemic ruined a whole lot of Generation X, man. They needed that separation because if they had just sat back and willingly allowed Generation X to pick up the baton and pick up the torch and run with it, all those D-boys that were grinding from 50 packs up to birds, all those D-boys that were grinding from OZs to 100 pounds, all of those D-boys who were grinding up from that, man, bro, I'm telling you, it would have changed the game. It would have changed. If they had been able to put that amount of effort and energy and focus and determination and drive into what the baby boomers had already built, this thing would be over. They had no choice. They had no choice but to put these gun shops, these pawn shops and gun shops and liquor stores on every corner in the city, in the major cities in the city. They had no choice but to implement crack cocaine into an environment where they had already cut people off from opportunities. It has always been the same. Those who are born into well-off families continue to succeed. Those who are born into inner city environments where they are cut off from opportunities, where they're void of opportunities, where they're void of outlets. I'm going to tell you like CeeLo Green said, I wonder if they put that gate up to keep them out or keep our ass in. Who's that peeking in my window? Pow. Nobody now. These things have been spoken on, man. So there isn't much that took on. There's a whole bunch of Hollywood. There's Dennis Archer, former mayor of Detroit, becomes the first African American to be elected president of the American Bar Association in 2002. That's a major accomplishment. A lot of these other things, man, are just, small jumps in politics. Barack Obama in 2004, of course, becomes, he's the second African American to be nominated senator, and only the fifth black senator in U.S. history. Condoleezza Rice becomes Secretary of State. So there's a whole bunch of things. August 30th, 2005, Hurricane Katrina hits the Gulf Coast, taking an estimated 1,700 lives. The vast majority of the deaths are in Louisiana, including heavily African American New Orleans. We watched that happen. We watched the President of the United States fly over that thing in Air Force One, turn around and go back home. Say, nah, it ain't been long enough. Too many of them still alive. Let's let them all die. We need the majority of them folk down there to die. We ain't sending no aid in there for at least about 35 more days. Let them stay on down there. They'll be all right. They ain't used to having that no way. And we sat and watched that, man. Everything else we see, I'm going to give you a list. Black population, affirmative action, black politics, presidential appointments, which is politics, black politics, affirmative action, black politics, post-1970 politics. Everything from about 2000 on through has all been politics, man. From about 2000 to 2009 has all been politics. And it ended with Barack Obama. They figured out the one thing that we responded the best to and figured this is what we'll use to pacify them. They respond so well. They think it's so positive. They saw how we responded when they appointed the black mayor in Charlotte, North Carolina, a predominantly white city. We thought it was an amazing thing. So they finally gave us Barack Obama. And ever since then, it's 2019. That was 11 years ago when he was sworn in the first time. Black men haven't done anything. Nothing. We've done nothing. We've accomplished nothing. Now let's talk some more. Let's get into some things now. Now I've heard thousands, tens of thousands of abortions, man. Hundreds of thousands of abortions. Because abortion has become the new birth control. You see, when abortion becomes the new birth control, that changes a lot of things, man. You understand? So when you look around and you see, and I'm gonna tell you something like this too. All these young folk that's in their 20s and all that, I agree that young folks in their 20s are wilding out. I heard Thinking Man's Templar say this. Young folks in their 20s are wilding out, man. But see, what you got to understand is this. A whole lot of Generation Xers spend a whole lot of time in prison. Like a lot of those boys didn't get out of prison till their children was damn near grown. Damn near, some of them grown. Didn't get out till their children was damn near grown, man. So what they learned was from that gap generation. See, there's a gap generation. So you got the people that's 40, you got the people that's 30, you got the people that's 20. The people that's 40 are responsible for the children that grew up to be in their 20s now. Now those are 21-year-old adults now. But that gap, those people who are 30 ain't did shit. They really ain't did nothing, to be honest with you, man. They haven't contributed anything to this particular society. Nothing. Let's talk about drug dealing. We hear a lot about that. Let me tell you something. If you're in an environment where everybody's struggling, there are no social programs, there is nothing. When you are born into an environment of struggle, so you got to understand, a lot of Generation Xers were born into struggle. They were born into poverty. Now, if your ass don't know what being born into poverty feels like, that's why you don't understand. But being born as a little child, not being able to eat proper meals, hell, not being able to eat normally, what mindset is that going to put you in? You become 12, 13 years old and there's an opportunity to make some money. You ain't even trying to get rich. You're trying to eat, man. You're trying to not have holes in the bottom of your shoes where your feet get wet when it rains. See what I'm saying? And there you go. Here's your out. Everybody that's in the trap, here's your out. We're going to give you something. The strong shall feed off the weak. And they know that. They know the word of God. They know the word just like we know it. They know that the strong will always feed off the weak. And when you put crack in an environment, the strong will sell it, the weak will smoke it. Bottom line. The strong will sell it, the weak will smoke it. That's just the way it goes, man. When we talk about violence and banging and all of that. Hey, man, you take a group of men that don't get no love from nowhere. See, put yourself in this position. You got a group of young men, they're in a single parent home. Because I forgot about Vietnam. Vietnam did a lot of things too, changed up a lot of interaction between men and their sons. Destroyed a lot of men. See, I don't think foreign forces, I don't think the Vietnamese dropped the Agent Orange on the U.S. soldiers. I don't think that's who did it. You understand? I don't think that's what happened. Just being honest with you. I don't think that's what it was. So I tell you this as well. You take a man that's in a single parent home, he's in the home with his single mother, she's working her ass off just to pay her bills. She's grinding, working hard. She's rarely ever around. Guess what? Little kid's looking for solidarity. He finds that solidarity. Guess where he finds it? With all the other young boys in the hood that are fatherless. See, let me tell you something. Taking the black father out of the household, man, is the worst thing that ever happened. And some of these boys that talking dealt with that very thing. That's why they so confused. We all have aspects of confusion in our brain. That's why it takes returning to the Most High to be able to understand where you are and why you're dealing with the things you're dealing with. The Most High is the only key to this thing, man. There's nothing else that can benefit us. And that's just me keeping it 100 with you, man. I ain't making this up, homies. When we look at corporate accomplishments, there simply weren't a lot of corporate accomplishments for Generation X. You know what I'm saying? See, this is the thing. We can't talk about corporate accomplishments and then talk about drug dealing at the same time. Both of these things weren't going on simultaneously. You understand? There was a huge void between what the baby boomers left, and by the time Generation X became adults, all of that shit had been wiped out, man. You understand? The system had infiltrated the environment, and wiped everything. They didn't wipe it out, they wiped access to it out. So everybody in a certain environment never even had access to these opportunities. See, the problem is you have to either study it or have lived in it to know about it. If you didn't study it or live in it, you don't know about it. You had to have studied it or lived it to know about it. That's the bottom line, man. Let's talk about our social life. You know, and I heard the brother TMT talked about this, and I agree with this. I never been to a Freak Nick. I never been to, you know, a Black Kappa Week. I never went to you know, when Luke used to have a freak show, Luke Freak Show, whatever it was. I never went to any of that. I was already called by the Most High. So even I was in that environment. I was in that environment to learn how to navigate that environment, to learn how to interact with the people in that environment, to learn how to become one with my people in that environment. That's what my purpose being in the hood was. But I never was interested in going to do those things. But I will agree, man, that, hey, man, let me tell you something. In my city, when the Freak Nick came, brothers, I'm going to be honest with you, my city emptied out. You know what I'm saying? My city emptied out. Wherever you wanted to go, you had access to it during the Freak Nick, because my city emptied out. When I say emptied out, man, I'm talking about emptied out. I had a partner who was a manager at Hertz Rental Car, man. He got jammed up, man. He was hustling rental cars out the back of the gate, man. $250 to get you a week. I'm talking about that boy had everybody in the city riding in a rental car, man. Didn't have no plan to cover it up, but you know, that's what happened, man. So he ended up getting jammed up though, man. So, but anyway, man, Hertz Rental Car ain't got no cars. Everybody in the city heading to the ATL, man. Everybody heading to the ATL. You know what I'm saying? And I was a young tyke, man. You know what I'm saying? I was a young tyke, man. I wasn't really into it anyway, man. I just wasn't really going nowhere. When they talking about all the women and all that, man, I ain't never been the type, man, to chase women, man. I never been the type to get excited about girls, because I always had pretty girls. You know what I'm saying? So you got to understand, man, those types of things took place. There's no denying that. They took place. But the only reason they're not taking place now is because all of those same things are happening on social media. Social media validation is the same thing. All those did do was go to thirst traps. Let me see. Kappa Week was a thirst trap. Daytona Beach was a thirst trap. Freak Nick was a thirst trap. Black Bike Week was a thirst trap. All these places were thirst traps. The women don't have to set these thirst. They don't have to travel to set thirst traps anymore. Social media is the thirst trap. Listen, tricking and beta male simp manginas have made women's jobs so much easier. They don't even have to travel to set thirst traps. They just set them online. All the time, just set them online. They can sit in the comfort of their bedroom and set a thirst trap. You understand? And another thing, man, you know, another thing that the homie TMT said that I agree with 100% is there was a generation that was, I'm talking about dropping their seed in everybody. You know what I'm saying? Everywhere they went, they dropped the seed. Here's seed, there's seed, everywhere seed. Dropping seed everywhere. Every woman they got with dropped seed in them. True enough. That is a fact. But when you look around now is the time that black women are the fastest growing group of newly reported AIDS and HIV cases, which means that there was a generation that was dropping their seed in women all the time. Every woman they got with, pretty much, they were hitting everything raw, but they was only hitting women. Now things have changed. You see what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of, you know, you got the pansexuality, you got all of these different types of sexuality going on, man, and it is affecting black women in a way that it didn't affect them during that time. So my point is to not point the finger at any particular group, but to say that every single group around has done enough bad to outweigh their good. So there is no one who, like, the generation now is doing absolutely nothing. You know what I'm saying? There is a gap where, man, nothing is going on right now. If it is going on, it's very ineffective. Because when you look out at the landscape of the black community, of black folks, the black experience in America, man, it's worse than it's ever been. Communication between black men and women is worse than it's ever been. Communication between black men is worse than it's ever been. There's no standing on principles. There's no standing on integrity. The absolute foundation of manhood and masculinity is lost now. It means absolutely nothing to be a man. Absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing to be masculine. Matter of fact, it's shunned in this particular society. You see what I'm saying? So you can look and say this about this generation or this about that generation or this. Hey man, you can even look back at the baby boomers and say, yeah, they accomplished a lot, but they you really can't look at the boomers and say nothing, to be honest with you. That was the last great generation of black folks, man. The baby boomers. The baby boomers. I'm telling you this right now. Dr. BoA is saying this, and anybody who disputes it, give me your proof. I just gave you my proof of that long list of accomplishments that the baby boomers have done. And if you take Generation X, the millennials, and Generation Z, you can't even touch the accomplishments of that one generation, the boomers, man. The boomers turned this entire black existence around, man. The entire existence turned around on the back of the baby boomers. And what have we done? Generation X, the millennials, Generation Z, rest on the laurels of our forefathers. Rest on the laurels of those who come before us. How come Bob Johnson is still the only black man on a major TV network? Even when it comes to social media. Okay, let's say we don't watch TV like that no more. But let's look at social media. Where's the major black outlet on social media? How come somebody black don't own Facebook or Snapchat or Instagram or YouTube or Twitter or Google or Microsoft or Windows or none of that? We don't own none of that. And then I hear some cat talking about, when they talk about and I think about this thing about the educated land. Hey, the educated land gave themselves that name. I've never heard anybody from the hood call, man, in the hood, we don't even think about the educated lane, man. We're too busy trying to get money. You know what I'm saying? We're too busy trying to get money. At least from my time in the hood, we were too busy trying to get money, man. All we knew, we made more money than people who had education. That's all we knew. And all we knew is that we went to the doctor, the dentist, we made more money than doctor, dentist. You know what I'm saying? We know that, we were making, I ain't gonna say how much, but we knew that. You know what I'm saying? So when I look at it and I say this, man, I say no group of black men has accomplished enough to be able to look down their noses at any other group. Generation X should not have anything negative to say about the millennials. The millennials should not have anything negative to say about Generation Z. Generation Z should not have anything to say about the millennials or Generation X. The only group of people around here are the grandfathers and great-grandfathers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers who can look at from Generation X on and say, y'all ain't done nothing with what we left y'all. Them the only ones. Because I'm going to tell you like this. Well, one thing we got to understand is at the base of everything that ails us is a system of oppression. A system of intentional oppression, suppression, depression. And that's just what it is. There's no way to overcome that fact. After the boomers accomplished everything they accomplished, this system said, oh hell no. No more of this. We got to break this up. See, this is the thing. Before the influx of crack and the gangbanging epidemic, the violence and all of that, because I'm going to be honest with you, banging only was able to get the legs it was able to because of the access to weapons. It would have still been fist fights. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm talking where we scraped up and got swole up and all that, man. Boy, we are not going to be ready to fight the next day. I don't know how many fights y'all never got into, but getting into a fight every day is not something your ass want to do. You know what I'm saying? If you get into a ring with another lion, y'all ain't gonna be ready to fight the next day, man. It's gonna be a minute for you. It's gonna be a few days for y'all ready to fight. You know what I'm saying? Somebody might not be able to come outside. It's gonna be some bandages. I'm talking about if you show enough get into one. It wasn't gonna care, but they were able to put all the weapons and give them access to the weapons. That was a time, man, where there wasn't no FBI check to go in there and get a weapon. You understand? Wasn't no FBI check to go in there and get a weapon. You know what I'm saying? We used to get all our weapons, man, with no FBI check. We never had to do an FBI check. We could literally walk into a pawn shop and just buy a gun. Literally. I ain't even lying to you. We just walk in there and get a gun. Anyone. Shotgun, pistol. We want to get anything, man. Selling guns hand to hand, man, it was a very simple process, man. It was nothing to get your hands on a gun. You know what I'm saying? Now imagine a super major city with a huge metropolitan area. On the outskirts of that metropolitan area on all sides, it's inner city. You ever wonder why all cities were constructed like that? You got the huge metropolis, you got the metropolitan area, the metropolis, and then on the outskirts on each side, you got the east side, west side, south side, north side, and you got hoods on each side. So when we look at what's happening in Chicago, man, what's happening in Chicago has absolutely nothing to do with even with those kids or who their parents are. It has something to do with a system that has said, okay, we're going to take all of these men who we have perpetuated into their minds and their psyche that they're enemies. And with all this bloodshed between them, when they were separated, we're going to put them all into a small area of neighborhoods. So here you go from being on the other side of town from your enemies to now your homies are at your front door and a block over your enemies are on the next block. You understand? If you want to see some men die, put them in close quarters with their enemies and give them all weapons. That's by design. I'm tired of hearing niggas blame other niggas for what's going on in this society, knowing that we were slaves in here, knowing that we've been oppressed in this society, knowing that the oppression continues, knowing that you could go to court and be convicted of something you didn't do, knowing that even today you can still be killed by a cop and the cop can get off. And we got the audacity to point the finger at each other like we growing up saying, okay, we gonna do this because we want to. No, man. Y'all know the story. Stop acting like y'all don't know the story. I know what we dealing with. Stop acting like y'all don't know. Hell, man, Chicago is the number one place in society. It's the number one, not just here, the number one place in the world for organ harvesting. Organ harvesting is huge. Man, there are millionaires and billionaires in other countries, man, that will pay anything you charge. There are countries right now, man, poor countries, man, and some of these poor Spanish-speaking countries, man, they going over there, man, getting the young men to get their kidneys up for free. I mean, not for free, but they paying them money to get their kidneys up. You know what I'm saying? They literally pay them to get. I'm talking about perfectly healthy men, nothing wrong with them. They just go in there, man. They go in there, they pay them to get their kidneys up, man. You go to those countries, you see many young men, man, with a scar on their side over here, where they've given up a kidney. See what I'm saying? This is what happens, man. It is huge business on the black market to be able to get organs. Because think about this. Everybody eats like shit. You know what I'm saying? Everybody eats like crap, man. The majority of the world eats like crap. So these people need kidneys. And they need transplants. And they are doing everything in their power. But see, with the black man, they don't expect the black man enough to pay him. Because they know you can't pay a nigga to let you cut him open. They know a black man ain't finna go get cut open for nothing. You want to cut a black man open, something got to be wrong with him. No perfectly healthy black man, you can't pay him enough money to say, let me cut you up and take your kidney out. Shh. Ain't no black man going for that, man. Hell, you got, most niggas got to get sick to go to the doctor, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality of it. Most black men are so distrusting of the medical profession that you are not going to get it. You can't offer a black man $500,000, man, let him cut you cut him open and give you his kidney. He ain't going to do it. There may be a few who may, but the majority of us are not going to let ourselves be cut open for nothing. To take a part of our body that we need out just so you can pay us. And shh, we ain't going to play that game, bro. You know what I'm saying? So they know they can't do that. So what they do, man, they knock them off. Put them in an environment where they can knock each other off. Of course, they can't be picking them off themselves. They may be picking them off themselves. We don't know. But we know that if they put them in an environment where it's expected that they'll take themselves out, then they can be taking them out. And we're going to just assume that they're taking each other out. You know what I'm saying? Man, what we dealing with in this society, man, is enough of an oppressive system where black men should never blame other black men for what's going on. Never. Never blame black men for what's going on. And let me tell you something. Another thing is this. Now, this is something I don't agree with. There is no point where any black man should be told to move out the way and make way for somebody else. Don't nobody ask that shit but black men. Nigga, don't nobody move out the way for you. You got to take your way. Go make your way in the world. Hell, somebody look like moving out your way. Nobody talks like that but black men. Every other race of men go take their position. They go take what they want. They don't expect somebody to just move and let them slide in. Nigga, I ain't moving nowhere, ever. When I'm 60, I ain't moving. You want me to move? Then you better tie a choke up. Let me tell you something, bro. Let me tell you something. If you want my spot, you better hitch me to a tow truck and move me out the way. Because I'm broke down in my spot. You understand what I'm saying? I'm broke down in my spot, homie. I'm on bricks. I can't move. You got to come tow me away. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reality of it, man. Somebody else is already. You ain't got enough faith in God to believe he got something for you out there that somebody ain't got to move out the way and give you? Come on, man. The problem with black men is they ain't doing their thing. You can't be doing your thing when you're worried about what another man doing. Just do your thing. Focus on doing your thing. All that energy you giving other men, focus on doing your thing. It's like content creators always on here, rah, rah, rah at each other all the time. Hey, man, focus on doing your thing. Because part of your thing ain't rah, rah, and that's somebody else. Especially if you don't know them personally. All this rah, rah, man, do your thing. If you're doing your thing, fine. Keep doing it. It's feminine as hell, man. To always got to be calling somebody's name or pointing something out. Ooh, you're doing this, you're doing that. What the hell are you doing? When the last time you affected a group of inner city men? When the last time you changed the plight of some students? When the last time you gave some family a way out of the inner city? When the last time you done anything? Where was your ass at when Katrina was going down? Where was your ass at when Hurricane Harvey was going down? Where were you? How many black folks you helped out in your life? I ain't talking about in your immediate circle. How many times have you made a move? How many times have one of these verdicts come out and you been up there instead of letting old ass Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson sit up there and talk for us, man? I'm telling you, man, young black men, and by young black men, I mean from 20 to 40, from 20 to 50 even, ain't doing nothing. We didn't take over no reins. We didn't take charge. We didn't take control. We didn't do nothing, man. And it's a travesty, brothers. It is a travesty that when something goes down, Reverend Al Sharpton is the one. Because I want you niggas to look in my eyes when I'm talking. Reverend Al Sharpton is the one who got to stand up there, 70 years old, 70-some years old, and represent us as our leader. What happened to Generation X? What happened to the little lost generation? What happened to the millennials? Where's the leadership at? All this rah-rah talking, where's leadership at? Get somewhere and lead. And leading ain't about getting on YouTube yapping. Get somewhere and lead. Young men need to see you out there on the streets leading. And I ain't talking about leading them to some whoredom. Lead them to how, this how you get a girl. This how you get a lot of girls. This how you trick off your wood. This how you trick off your money. I ain't talking about none of that. Where's the leadership? There ain't no hope for black folks. Because black men don't want to be leaders. Black men don't want to take over nothing. Black men don't want to take responsibility for nothing. And if you ain't going to take responsibility for what's going on out here, man, sit your ass down somewhere. Because I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you. And this real talk. If it wasn't for YouTube, half of these niggas wouldn't be known. Let's be honest with you. If it wasn't for YouTube, half of these niggas wouldn't be known by anyone. They wouldn't be helping anybody. They wouldn't be changing anybody's life. You understand? Because they wouldn't have an opportunity to just talk. Because there's a whole bunch of talking, but ain't a whole bunch of walking going on. And that's keeping it 100 with you, man. And as I stated before, I don't diss people. So this ain't no diss to nobody. This is a moment of education and reflection is what it is. It's a moment for us to stand up and understand that every time we declare war on one another, we doing the enemy's job for them. We already got enemies. We can't be each other's enemies. No group of men has done so much that they can look down their nose at another group of men and say, well, you did this, without following that with, but on the other hand, we've done this, and we've done that, and we've done this. Hey, man, black folks ain't done nothing since the baby boomers. And that's the reality of it. We ain't done a thing since the boomers, brothers. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm gonna be honest with you, man. It's a travesty, man. It's a travesty. You know what I'm saying? That's what we've been dealing with in this country since we've been here, being lumped in as a huge group. Well, you black, so this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? Well, you're a black woman, this is what it is. Well, you're a black man, this is how we view you. Not as individuals. There's bad apples in every bunch. There's bad apples in every bunch. Yo, them lights bright as hell, man. Them lights bright, brothers. There's bad apples in every bunch, man. There's bad apples in every bunch. And what we got to understand is that the more good apples than bads. And that whole shit about one bad apple spoils the bunch is a lie. You see a bad apple, you take it out. The rest of the bag is good. Eat the rest of the apples. I say again, one bad apple don't ruin the whole basket. Take the one bad apple out, eat the rest of the apples. So, y'all go ahead, man, and I appreciate everybody coming through, man. But we need leadership, man. You understand? And what leaders do, this is how you tell someone who's a leader, a born leader. A born leader uses every opportunity to teach, inform, and instruct. Even if it's tough love, even if it's a touch lesson, leaders teach people to understand themselves, understand their place, understand how their own actions have affected their place. And there are very few leaders out here. There's a bunch of talkers, not very many walkers. And I'm going to be honest with you. My legs hurt like hell because I walk. I appreciate everybody coming through, man. It's been real in the field, brothers. We're going to slide on out this joint, man. Hey, man, y'all join me tonight again, man, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be on with my brother C. Douglas, and we're going to chop it up tonight, man, about something real. You understand what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody being in the joint. We're going to go ahead and slide out this joint, man. King George III, I appreciate the $3 super chat, brother. Everybody else with the super chats, man, I appreciate it. Somebody else just sent me one. That's King George III with another super chat. Appreciate the $5 super chat. Homie said they figured out how to get in everyone's mind, and boom, the rest was history. We now fighting ourselves internally. No one loves themselves. That's all it is, brother. That's all it is. Master the producer, I appreciate the $2 super chat, brother. Let's see what else I forgot up here. J Aries 251, man, I appreciate the $10 super chat, bro. I think that might be it, man. KG3, man, I appreciate the super chat, man. Homie says facts, facts, facts. I appreciate that, brother. So, hey, man, listen, I appreciate everybody coming through, man. It's been real in the field. Primal Fitness, man. I appreciate the $2 super chat as well, brother. Let me make sure, man, I'm seeing everything. Let me go over here to this other corner, man, make sure I'm seeing all the super chats, man. Morpheus Mindism, I appreciate the $10 super chat, man. Brother says salute to you, Dr. BoA, and I appreciate the message. No doubt, brother, I appreciate the super chat. Appreciate you being in the joint. I appreciate everybody coming through, man. Again, man, y'all tune in tonight, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be on with my partner C. Doug, man, and we going to get real in here, man, once again. So, like I said, man, anybody who feels like this was an attack on them or anything, man, you have my word that it wasn't. I'm just speaking on something that I was asked to speak on and giving my perspective on it, while at the same time educating about the history that proves that from Generation X to millennials, we all dropped the ball. And that's a lesson on Black history. I appreciate everybody coming through, man. I'm out.